American half pound, 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Steve McGowan.
I'm Adrienne Meddock. We're in a band, the Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. But we're also record collectors and passionate, especially about the expression of pop music perfection that is the single recording. Exploring the mysteries of what makes for a great single is what propelled us to begin this podcast. And what's today's great single?
We've got a good one today. It's episode 032, and it's by a band from Athens that is not a jangly band.
The opposite of a jangly band.
Yes, absolutely the opposite. The band is called Mercyland, and the single is Black on Black on Black with the B-side Ciderhead. It was released in 1987. This band is known for having Mr. David Barbie as the bass player and chief songwriter and singer. David is a pretty famous figure in Athens now. He was a member of Sugar with Bob Mould, and he runs Chase Park Transduction Recording Studios. He produces the Drive-By Truckers, almost every one of their records. He's produced Sun Volt. He's worked with all kinds of artists, from REM to Amy Ray, et cetera, et cetera. He's a big cheese in Athens, and he had a wonderful, wonderful band for about 10 years called Mercyland.
Yeah, Mercyland was great. And they were a band that, sort of a band that we ran with.
Yes.
We played with them. We booked them.
Yes. They were a punk band.
Out of Athens.
Yes.
Athens, Athens wasn't homogenous in its music styling. Lots of different, interesting music came out, but a true punk band was a bit of a novelty.
Loud,
for Athens.
fast, and poppy, and they were an amazing band.
All the good stuff.
Yes, and we're going to tell you some stories we have about them, but we want to get right into it. I think we're going to listen to the single. It's from 1987. Again, the band is Mercyland, and it's called Black on Black on Black.
Steve, the scraggly haircuts.
Okay, so that was Black on Black on Black, Mercyland. Definitely a high energy, rockin' tune. Really good lyrics. Just bashing their way through it. That's David on bass. And
Super essential bass. I mean, it's not anything that's elaborate. It's very tasteful.
carries the melody in places.
Yeah, but it's not anything showy.
Yeah, and Andrew Donaldson's playing the guitar. He's just cranking it out, and Harry Joyner is killing it on the drums. Andrew was one of the first guitar players I'd ever seen who played a flying V guitar, and was very influential. He really knew how to rock it, and they were just a super high energy band. We in the Beef People, we played in Athens quite a bit, and we struck up a friendship with David and the guys in the band. I think they came and saw us one night, and
Yeah, they were actually nice to us.
yeah, they were nice, and they were fans. They got the Beef People music. They really did. They were into it, and
because we were a little complicated.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we were never just one thing.
we always talk about how our band was like a mixtape. We didn't just have the one sound. We would always skip between lots of different sounds, and that confused people. But they were totally into it. And we ended up opening for them quite a few times in Athens at the old 40 Watt. We played with them quite a few times. We had some very stellar shows with them, very exciting, and they always brought it.
Oh yeah,
They were always a very high energy, very
true believers,
uplifting,
and
rock and roll believers for sure. And it wasn't so much a show as it was as more of just they would just come out and just deliver, you know. It wasn't the entertainment thing, but the music would just pour out of them.
Yeah, earlier in our episode about Pete Shelley,
Right.
talking about music of action. Mm-hmm. The punk is action. It's not seeming to be something. It's just being it. It's
Right.
doing it, and they were very much in that mold.
They definitely were. And so we had a number of good shows with them. David Barbie was probably one of the nicest guys we've ever met.
Yeah, not just in music, but a genuine good soul.
And a real believer in rock and roll.
Yeah.
He was all about the music, and he was always nice and always positive, and it just made us like them even more, you know, because I would have liked them even if they were jerks, because their music was great, but they
what
weren't
a pleasant
jerks.
surprise that you can be awesome and be a decent
I know,
human being.
it was amazing. So later on, we when we were booking bands, we booked them a number of times.
Yeah.
And
Greenville.
they always played great shows, and they were a known quantity. There was something you could count on. They would come to your club. They would rock the doors off of it, and give you 110% or whatever the cliche is, and they were just a fantastic band.
Yeah, yeah, the real deal.
So we're going to listen to the B side of the single. The single is Black on Black on Black. It was 1987. They put it out themselves, and the B side is called Ciderhead. It's a little bit different. To me, it has a little bit more of a Husker Du thing. Let's listen to it, and we'll talk about it on the other side, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Mercyland and Ciderhead.
Before you, hanging around with you.
The thing that's really interesting to me is how different the bass is there,
Yeah.
where you had very sort of serving the song
Yes.
line. It's not that this bass line doesn't serve the song,
It's more
but
of
it
a
really
lead.
takes a lead.
Yeah.
It takes a lead and carries the melody. Carries. It's very much the thing that you get often in 3-piece bands, where
Yeah.
the bass does much more than hold the root.
And he always played a Rickenbacker bass, which has got a little bit more trebly sound cut through and is good for that lead bass thing.
Yeah, and it absolutely leads and slices through on this side. Not everybody can do both styles of playing,
right.
and he carries it off on a single recording. On both one side, one style, and a very different style on the opposite.
And I love the way Andrew plays those open bar chords in that one section. It sounds very Bob Mouldy.
Yeah, I don't think this is a copy of Husker Du, but it's
Inspired.
certainly it definitely carries the inspiration
Right.
and enthusiasm for.
Another great, rockin' song, like pretty much everything in their repertoire. Now, speaking of inspiration, we did cover in the Beef People a number of Athens bands, particularly the Method Actors and Pylon.
Pylon, Pylon.
Lots of Pylon, but we never did Mercyland.
You had to see to that yourself, didn't
Yes,
you?
well, after the Beef People, I had a band called Tool and Die, and we did Black on Black and Black. That would be me on guitar and vocals, and Glenn Ware on the bass, and Kevin Hoyer on the drums. We're going to play you a little bit of us doing Black on Black on Black, and this is Tool and Die. So that's my later band doing Black on Black on Black. We're trying as best as we can to be Mercyland. And, it's a great song, so it was hard to screw up. We did mention how Ciderhead we thought sounded inspired by Husker Du. And it did turn out that David Barbie was asked to join Bob Mould's post-Husker Du band, Sugar.
Yes.
And he was in Sugar for quite a few years, and they put out some excellent music. David did not get to write so many songs for Sugar, although he had a few that were really strong. But he was a great bass player and great singer, and got to tour all over with them. I think it turned out to be a pretty good experience. And another thing I wanted to mention was when I had my recording studio in Greenville, Mercyland did come up, since we were friends, and recorded some demos that were for songs that would come out on the album No Feet on the Cowling, which is really their only full-length record they put out, which is a fantastic record, and we'll talk about that at the end. But they did come and they recorded. It was they just came in, they set up, they knocked it out. They were very punk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like the drum sound is not right, or it was like, let's just do it. Let's rock, and I always...
No muss, no fuss.
I always appreciated that about those guys. They weren't complainers. They just...
Not dainty.
And then when they were done, they were like, this is great. So, and I was like, oh my God, it's Mercyland. I don't know what, I was all starstruck, but everything turned out great. So we mentioned No Feet on the Cowling. I don't know if that's still in print. We'll put a link to that. That's going to be one of my recommendations, I think. And what else do we want to say?
We usually talk about who would you hear covering the song.
Right.
And, we didn't talk about that in the last podcast with Swimming Pool Cues, because we really can't hear anyone doing Swimming Pool Cues but
Absolutely
Swimming Pool Cues. And here we answer that question because you cover Mercyland.
Right. So we taken care of that question.
You answered the musical question in a musical manner.
Right. So do we have recommendations?
Your recommendation is No Feet on the Cowling?
Yes, I would definitely recommend. There's a couple things. The No Feet on the Cowling record by Mercyland. It was available. They remixed it a few years ago, and it was available on David's website. But I'm not sure where it is. We'll find a link for it, and we'll put it up for you. It's a great record all the way through. Towards the end of the period when the band was together, but they were really hitting a stride there. And also Dave Barbie has a solo record out that came out maybe 8 months ago. It's called 10th of Seas. And it's very different than what we've been listening to. He did the whole thing himself in his studio.
Played all the instruments.
Yeah, all the instruments, the drums, everything. Totally self-made. Did it exactly the way he wanted. To me, it's got a real kind of Stonesy sort of vibe. Kind of a late night. It's cool.
Blues inflected.
Yeah, it's a cool record. It's got some cool riffs and slowed down a little bit. And I would recommend you check that out if you're into that sort of thing. And, of course, he has a great studio. If you want to do any recording, I would. I couldn't think of a nicer guy to work with.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a very detailed description, but
no.
it's an incredibly accurate one.
It makes a difference when you're in a recording studio. Believe me, having worked in one for so many years, to deal with people who are thoughtful and nice and not just going to be like the clock's running, kids, Did you have any recommendations?
My recommendation is going to be non-musical.
Okay.
It's going to be of the grocery variety.
Okay, awesome.
Which is, I discovered a new cheap drink, which is bubbly, which is, like fizzy water. And obviously we should all be drinking water from the tap, right? But, or LaCroix, as they insist on pronouncing it. But, bubbly's all right.
Yeah,
it's a spot of bubbly, but not in
cheap.
this.
It's not super flavorful, but it just hits the spot.
It's not cloying.
No,
but it's wet.
Yeah, it's water.
It's thoroughly wet,
and it'll make you burp.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's that. But that's half the fun.
What more do you want?
Yeah, exactly. All right then. So that's our episode for today, number 032.
032.
Mercyland, Black on Black on Black, and Ciderhead from 1987. The great punk rock band from Athens.
Yes, Athens.
Athens, Georgia. Punk rock, for real. And just wonderful music. And we will talk to you again very soon.
Later.
Bye. To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com. and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records. Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.
Today